Social Security is the best and cheapest annuity you will ever find that will last the rest of your life. So if you haven't collected yet, find out the best way to do it. And if you collected early, there may be a way to undo that decision and earn a bigger benefit in the future.
The COVID impact on retirement is on Consuelo Mack Wealth Track.
Funding provided by Clearbridge Investments, Morgan Le Fay Dreams Foundation, First Eagle Investment Management, Royce Investment Partners, Matthews Asia, and Strategas Asset Management.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Wealth Track. I'm Consuelo Mack. The COVID pandemic has caused many of us to reassess multiple aspects of our lives: where we live and work, how we spend our time and money, and who we spend our time with. It has also had a big impact on retirement planning. According to a comprehensive study first conducted in 2019 by Edward Jones and AgeWave and updated several times since, there are 4 pillars to a fulfilling retirement: health, family, purpose, and finances. In the most recent survey, The 4 Pillars of the New Retirement, What a Difference a Year Makes, here's how retirees rank the important elements to achieving what the study calls optimal well-being. 85% of retirees said having good physical, mental health was key. 77% ranked having family and friends that care about me. 69% emphasized having a sense of purpose in life. And 59% of retirees said being financially secure. More emphasis on quality of life over financial success now permeates all adult demographics. Asked to define success, 41% of Gen Z, those are ages 18 to 23, 45% of millennials, ages 24 to 39, 50% of Gen Xers, 40 to 55 years old, and 61% of baby boomers, ages 56 to 74, said being happy with who I am and what I am doing was their primary definition of success. It beat out other major considerations, including achieving wealth and having a career I am proud of, by huge margins. Regardless of how we feel about our lives, the reality is financial security is an important element of achieving all of the other desirable goals. And that is where this week's guest can help us, one of Wealth Track's most popular over the years. She is retirement expert Mary Beth Franklin. Franklin is a certified financial planner, award-winning personal finance journalist, contributing editor of Investment News, host of the podcast The Retirement Workshop, and the Social Security expert author of the ebook Maximizing Social Security Retirement Benefits, now available in its 2021 edition. Her latest journalistic award was for an article she wrote in her On Retirement column concerning how attitudes about retirement have been affected by the pandemic, which is how we started our conversation.
Well, certainly the pandemic affected every one of us in all different ways. But for retirees particularly, there were some interesting results. Keep in mind that most retirees have some form of secure income, like Social Security and maybe a pension, and they've figured out how to get income from their investments. So they weren't worried about losing their job during the pandemic, like so many younger workers were. They were able to focus on things that were maybe more important than money. The importance of seeing their family. For the ones that were close by, how lucky. And for the ones with those grandchildren across the country, they learned to use Zoom and FaceTime really fast. And there was a recent study called The 4 Pillars of Retirement that looked at what's really important to retirees. And guess what? It's not all about the money.
The impact of the funding and timing of retirement, did that change at all?
Yes, it did. And much like we heard throughout the pandemic about the K-shaped economic recovery. In other words, one group of people, primarily white-collar workers who could work remotely, they just soared. They took off. They kept getting paychecks. Their expenses were reduced. They could sock away more money. They could improve their homes, while lower income workers who were often frontline workers in retail and other area, they really suffered. They often lost their jobs. That was beyond their control. They had very little in the way of emergency funds. So we really saw 2 very different Americas. But I think one thing that was quite interesting for the near retirees. We always tell people as they get 5 to 10 years close to retirement to think about what is that daily life in retirement going to look like, and how do you divide your financial needs between your needs, your wants, and maybe your aspirations. Well, I think that was reordered during the pandemic as well. We usually think of needs as food, shelter, clothing, pay your health insurance, your taxes. Who knew that it also included a Netflix and an Amazon Prime subscription? That suddenly became really important. The other thing was no one was going out to dinner. No one was going out to the theater. It helped people figure out what was really important and how to justify their future retirement budget.
One of the things that you've written about is that for financial advisors, for instance, a lot of retirees and pre-retirees are now looking for kind of, life advice as well, is not just financial advice for retirement, but some guidance as to how to spend their time in retirement.
Absolutely. There is really a shift to more holistic financial planning. The days of just working with a stockbroker are over. You can get some sort of robo platform to tell you how you should invest your money. What you want is someone to sit down with you and say, well, have you thought of the implications if you decide to move to another state? Do you have a support group there? Have you looked into what the medical situation and transportation situation is? What happens when you're suddenly widowed? A computer is not going to hold your hand when your husband dies, but a good financial advisor will.
You mentioned that a lot of retirees were in good shape, relatively good shape as far as the COVID situation was concerned. But one group, it's really startling, that really were adversely affected, not in the retirement community so much, but among working Americans, were women. And I know you sent me a study from Transamerica that was really an eye-opener, where 51% of working women said that their finances were adversely affected by COVID. Can you go into the results of that study a little bit more?
Right. Just think of this. So many women not only were expected to work either remotely or in the front lines, maybe they were nurses, teachers, whatever, and they had their little kids at home. Daycare was closed, schools were closed. Talk about multitasking. I think this was the group that was hardest hit. And as a result, we've seen a large number of women, often professional women, simply dropping out of the workforce because they couldn't do it anymore. They could not continue to work without having the child care support they needed. That's where we're going to see long-term implications for women's future retirement security. Because what happens if suddenly you've stopped working? We know women tend to earn less over their lifetimes to start with. They're often in and out of the workforce for caregiving activity, whether for children or elderly family members. Because they work less, they tend to be able to save less. And the sad irony is women tend to live longer than men, so they start retirement with a smaller nest egg and have to stretch it over a longer period of time. Now throw in a large majority of women simply dropped out of the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't do it anymore. What's going to happen to their future retirement security when they can no longer save?
Right, so they've fallen even farther behind than they were before. What's your advice to women who are in that situation, and many of us certainly are, as far as what should we be doing? How can we shore up our finances? What are kind of some of the steps that we can take to at least try to bolster our financial situation long term?
Well, I think for married couples where maybe you've gone from 2 incomes to 1, you really need to meet with a financial advisor to say, okay, how do we not only survive on 1 income, but plan for 2 retirements? Yes, there will be Social Security in the future, but there has to be a way to factor that even a non-working spouse, you can contribute to an IRA, and that needs to be really a goal for married couples. Much tougher for single women. If you continue to work, you have to look at the basic financial planning rules. If you're fortunate enough to have a 401k plan at work, And if your employer is contributing to it, you want to contribute at least as much to capture that full employer match. Otherwise, you're walking away from free money. If you have a health savings account at work, that can be also a great way to save. Contribute up to your 401k employer match, and then maybe put the excess money in an HSA because you get a tax break for your contribution. The money grows tax-free, and it continues to accumulate tax-free. And if you spend that money on healthcare costs, there's no tax involved. So it's a very powerful tool for your future.
One of the things that the Transamerica study mentioned is, make sure that you stay employable. And I'm assuming that means, keep up with the skills that are needed in the workplace, keep networking. There are things that we can do to make ourselves relevant in today's workforce, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing the pandemic taught us is we can find out anything on YouTube or Facebook or through Zoom meetings or master classes. There is no excuse not to use this time to improve your professional standing. The other thing in your advantage is many employers are desperate to hire, and as a result, they are looking beyond the traditional applicant pool. So even if you're looking for a job that may not be in your traditional industry, you may still have a chance at that. And the other advantage is geography no longer matters. So many jobs can be done remotely, and so you may be living in New York City, but you could be working for a company in California.
And one of the things that you have done philanthropically, as I have, is work on financial literacy as well, so that there are definitely organizations where you can learn about finances that are available probably in most towns or cities. Safeguarding your health is another issue that's really important.
Absolutely, because when you ask retirees what's their biggest fear, it's usually Alzheimer's disease. And secondly, just the cost of retiree health care. So the healthier you are going into retirement, with any luck, the healthier you will be throughout retirement. And that may really save you money because health crises are very expensive. And that's the other thing. I think the pandemic made us so aware of how vulnerable the elderly can be. And hey, some of us would consider me elderly at this point. So I'll tell you, I'm either jazzercising or playing pickleball every day because I want to be around for a very long time.
I don't know too many people who have the energy level that you do, Mary Beth Franklin, so I can see you doing that. It might not be realistic for a lot of the rest of us, but at any rate, that's great. Whatever we can do to keep moving is what we should be doing. You have written an ebook called Maximizing Social Security Retirement Benefits. We've talked about it just about every year on Wealth Track with you. It's one of our most popular programs. So let's talk about Social Security, which so many elderly people depend upon. And we got a scare in that we think it's going to run out of money a year sooner than we thought a year ago. So talk to us about Social Security.
Yes, every year the Social Security trustees issue a report, as they're required by law, to say what do the finances look like long term for Social Security. Now, we've known for decades that the excess money that funds Social Security, that we call the trust funds, will eventually be exhausted unless Congress makes some changes. The report said those trust funds will run dry around 2034, which is a year earlier than previously forecast. So my big concern for the American consumers out there is don't rush to claim Social Security early because you're afraid the program's going to run out of money. That is the equivalent to selling your stock portfolio in a down market. The only thing you have guaranteed is you have now locked in a loss. I guarantee over the next 13 years, Congress will do something to get the system back on track. And frankly, this is not a math problem, it's a political problem. They can do a combination of gradually raising, say, the payroll tax by a tenth of a percentage point each year for 25 years, then that solves about half the problem. They could gradually raise the full retirement age from 67 to 70, but don't panic. For today's 2-year-olds, they'll live to 110, they'll get used to it. With a combination of tax changes and benefit changes, it is fixable.
We just got a big increase, the biggest in 40 years, 5.9% cost of living adjustment in Social Security. But you say, this is great, right? But kind of temper your enthusiasm.
Well, first of all, yes, it is great news. 5.9% is a huge increase for retirees when they receive their benefits next year in 2022. And the first thing I want to tell your audience is, if you have not yet claimed Social Security, but you're eligible, you're at least 62 years old, don't rush to claim the benefits. I've heard from so many people saying, well, I guess I have to claim Social Security so I can cash in on that big cost of living adjustment. No, you don't. The way the Social Security law is written is anyone who is eligible, meaning at least 62, up until the time you actually claim benefits, you receive every cost of living adjustment from the time you're 62 until you claim, and it's factored into your future benefits.
That's
now,
important
very
information.
important.
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
But unfortunately, if you are not at least 62 next year, it doesn't matter what next year's COLA is. It doesn't affect you.
Delay for as long as you can taking your Social Security benefits, because you lose, 8% increase that's permanent per year that you take it early.
Right. Now, you could claim benefits as early as 62, but your benefits are permanently reduced if you wait till your full retirement age, which is anywhere from 66 to 67, depending on your birth year. You get your full benefits and can keep them all even if you continue to work, because any earnings restrictions disappear at your full retirement age. But for those people who are patient and are willing to wait up until age 70, there is this huge payoff. You earn an extra 8% per year in delayed retirement credits for every year you postpone claiming Social Security beyond your full retirement age.
Which is 66 again, right?
Right.
So
At the moment.
4 years, yep.
Right, up until age 70. So that's
right.
a 32% increase. You are increasing your Social Security benefits by a third for the rest of your life. And here's a stark comparison. Let's say my full retirement age is 66 and I decide to claim at 62. I'm going to only get 75% of my promised benefits because I'm claiming 4 years early, versus waiting till 70, where I'm going to get 132% of my full retirement age benefits. The difference between claiming as early as possible at 62 and as late as possible at age 70 increases my Social Security monthly benefits by 76% for the rest of my life. Where else are you going to get a guaranteed 76% increase on, quote, an investment over an 8-year period? If you know what it is, I'd love to hear about it.
Mary Beth, you update your ebook on Social Security, Maximizing Social Security Retirement Benefits, every year. What is the update now? What's the latest news that we need to know, aside from the big cost of living adjustment increase? What do we need to know about Social Security?
Well, we need to know how much the benefits are going to be, how much we will be paying in those FICA taxes, what creative claiming strategies remain for a certain group of lucky people who were born before 1954, people who were born on or before January 1st, 1954, who are either currently married or who are what is considered an eligible divorce spouse, meaning they were married at least 10 years, they're divorced and currently single, have a creative claiming strategy available to them that is not available to younger people. For example, if one spouse claims Social Security and the other spouse, who was born by 1954, can say to Social Security, don't pay me my Social Security retirement benefits. Let them keep growing by 8% a year up until age 70. But in the meantime, because I was born before 1954, I would like to file a restricted claim for spousal benefits. That means give me the equivalent of half of my spouse's full retirement age benefit, and then when I turn 70, I will switch to my maximum amount. Now, this is very important for married couples. I usually encourage one spouse, the one with the bigger Social Security benefit, to wait if possible, because not only does it increase the maximum retirement benefit while both spouses are alive, but should one spouse die first, the bigger benefit will continue as the survivor benefit and the smaller benefit goes away. And here's one more tip when it comes to creative claiming strategies. People who are surviving spouses or eligible surviving ex-spouses who also have their own retirement benefit, they may be able to choose to claim one type of benefit first, a retirement or survivor, switch to the other later. They can do it in either order. It doesn't matter, whichever benefits them the most, and it does not matter when they were born. Retirement benefits, survivor benefits are two separate pots of money. If you find yourself in this situation, get good advice to make sure you are maximizing your Social Security benefits.
And I want to stress ex-spouse as well.
Absolutely. Anyone who is married at least 10 years, divorced, currently single, to be able to collect spousal benefits on their living ex. And here's one of my favorite exceptions to the Social Security rule. Even though you lose the right to collect on a living ex-spouse if you remarry, you can still collect survivor benefits on a deceased ex-spouse if you wait till age 60 or later to remarry. So yes, you could collect survivor benefits even if you're married to someone else. So here are the two rules for divorced spouses to remember. There must be at least a decade between I do and I don't. If you are married less than 10 years, you will get squat. And if you plan to take a second trip down the aisle, you may want to wait till 60 or later because you might be able to collect a survivor benefit. And if that's not the ultimate revenge, I don't know what is.
And where else would you hear advice like this, aside from Mary Beth Franklin on Wealth Track? I don't know. All right, one investment for a long-term diversified portfolio, Mary Beth. What should we all own some of or do even?
I like to think of my focus as being on retirement income, secure income. I have been attending conferences over the past few weeks where everyone is saying, you retirees need to buy an annuity. Well, guess what? Social Security is the best and cheapest annuity you will ever find that will last the rest of your life. So if you haven't collected yet, find out the best way to do it. And if you collected early, there may be a way to undo that decision and earn a bigger benefit in the future. You'll find out all about that when you buy my ebook.
And also, I know you said in the past, if you call the Social Security Administration, they can be very helpful too.
Well, it is true that there are many very helpful people at the Social Security Administration. However, the entire workforce of about 60,000 plus people have been working from home during the pandemic and continue to do so. So getting information on the phone is pretty tough, but there is just a wealth of information available at the official website, which is ssa.gov, as in Social Security Administration.government. You can find everything you need there. You can find phone numbers to contact your local office, which is usually a better way to go than through the 800 number. And you can file your applications for retirement benefits and even Medicare benefits right at ssa.gov. And my final tip is, if you haven't done so already and you're not yet claiming Social Security benefits, make sure you set up your own personal account at ssa.gov/myaccount. That way you can access your estimated benefit statements, just like the ones you used to get in the mail, 24/7. And that is one of the most important financial documents in your possession.
Mary Beth Franklin, always so great to talk to you. So full of wonderful information. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Consuela. It's always my pleasure to be on the smartest money show on television. You do great work.
It's our guest, Mary Beth. Thanks so much. At the close of every Wealth Track, we try to give you one suggestion to help you build and protect your wealth over the long term. This week's action point is consider how to optimize your well-being in retirement. In my opening remarks, I mentioned the study that identified the 4 pillars of a fulfilling retirement: having good physical and mental health, having family and friends that care about you, having a sense of purpose in life, and being financially secure. Well, the majority of retirees polled say all 4 are essential to optimal well-being in retirement. How are you doing in achieving those 4 pillars? No matter what your age, there is no time like the present to shore up these important supports for a successful retirement. Well, next week we will hear investment lessons from great rule breaker investor David Gardner as he steps back from his role at the Motley Fool. In this week's extra feature, Franklin discusses the permanent changes she is making after COVID. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend and make the week ahead a healthy, profitable, and productive one.